Hi, today we're going to take a look at some exponent rules. Now you might be wondering, what is an exponent? An exponent is a number that just tells you how many times you're multiplying a base number by itself. For example, a here is the base, n is your exponent. We would read this as a to the nth power. And that just means we're taking a, the base number, times itself, n number of times. With numbers, might be a little bit easier to understand. 2 to the first power is just 2. You're not multiplying it by anything. We often don't write the 1 as the exponent. 2 to the second power would just mean you take 2 times itself twice, which would be 4. And 2 to the third power would be 2 times itself 3 times, which would be 8. So you could keep going and increase that exponent. Some of the rules of exponents that we need to know. First one is the product rule. And that is if we are taking two like bases and multiplying them, but they each have an exponent. What we have to do there is add the exponents. Let's take a look with numbers, an example with numbers. If we had 3 to the 5th power times 3 to the 6th power, we would keep our base as 3, and we would just add the exponents. 5 plus 6 would be 11. The quotient rule is if we have a base to an exponent divided by that same base to a different exponent. In this case, we are subtracting the exponents. So up here, when we had a product, we were adding. Now that we have a quotient, we are subtracting. So let's take a look at an example of that. If we had 3 to the 6th power over 3 to the 5th power, we are still keeping the same base as 3. We're just going to subtract our exponent. 6 minus 5 is just 1. Now, again, I said earlier we don't really need to write that 1, so we could just leave this as a 3. The power rule is if we have one base going to an exponent, and then that is all being raised to another exponent. So I like to say if you take a power to a power, you're multiplying. That's why it's called the power rule. So let's take a look at that. If we had 3 to the 5th power raised to the 6th power, so we would now have 3 to the 5 times 6, which would be 30, 3 to the 30th power. The product of power of a product rule means we have multiple letters or numbers inside the parentheses here, all being raised to the same power. So you would take each one of the individual pieces and raise it. So a times b to the m power, you would take a to the m power and b to the m power. So let's take a look at an example of what that might look like. I have 3x to the 5th power. So we have to take 3 to the 5th power as well as x to the 5th power. Now in that case, and we could have up here, we could have done 3 to the 11th and 3 to the 30th power. But in this one, I'm going to take 3 to the 5th power is 243, and then x to the 5th power. So again, both pieces here need to go to the exponent. In a similar fashion, the power of a fraction rule, if you have a fraction or quotient being raised to an exponent, again, the number in the numerator is going to the exponent as well as the number in the denominator, a to the m over b to the m. So another quick example of that here, I have x over 3 to the 5th power. I'm going to take x and raise it to the 5th power, and I'm going to take 3 and raise it to the 5th power. And again, we can go ahead and do 3 to the 5th power. That's 3 times itself. 5 times would be 243. Right, only 2 more to go here. The 0 exponent rule just says if you take any number and raise it to the 0 power, the answer is going to be 1. So if I take 3 to the 0 power, it's 1. If you took x to the 0 power, still 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. And the negative exponent rule, we don't really like negative exponents. We try to rewrite them as positive exponents. So if we have some base to a negative exponent, we're going to change where that is located. Right now it's in the numerator of a fraction. So this would be like over 1. We are going to move it to the denominator. And if it was already in the denominator, we would move it to the numerator. And in doing that, we change it to a positive exponent. So a to the negative m would equal 1 over a to the positive m. So let's take a look at one of those here. 3 to the negative fifth, I would do 1 over 3 to the positive fifth. And then just like before, 3 to the fifth is 243. So hopefully this is a good review of exponent rules for you.